Consulting's webinar series for our Mitchell University. Today we're going to be working with SAP Business One, and we're going to be going over the serial and batch transactions and application within SAP Business One. For purpose of the demo today, we're working with SAP 9.0, but this is also available in the earlier versions of SAP. So if you're working with the 2007 or 8.8 series, it's the same information. A few things are changed here, and we'll go over the details in the newer version. So let's begin, and let's talk about what we mean by serial and batch information. When we talk about a serial number, we're talking about a one-to-one relationship. This is typical if you buy any electronic device, anything with a warranty. It has a serial number. That serial number identifies that unique item. So if you're buying a laptop or an iPad or a refrigerator or a washing machine, it usually comes with a serial number. And what that does, that links that part for you for warranty information and service and repair and so on. So a serial number is a unique one-to-one relationship. A batch number is used to to identify a group of items. Batches are typically used in the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry, also used in the tile industry, so it indicates a group or a lot. For example, in the food industry, if I manufacture ground beef, that ground beef has a lot number. So if I produce X amount of packages of ground beef, I do 50,000 pounds of ground beef, it all is part of the same batch. You'll hear that sometimes when something gets returned food. They'll say lot number 123 is contaminated. So the batch is used for that. It's also used in the pharmaceutical industry for the same principle. If I manufacture aspirins and I make 50,000 bottles of aspirins, they all have that same batch number. It's also used in the tile industry to indicate shades and locks on different types of tile. So let's talk about this. I'm going to open up the item master data, and let me show you some information here. We're going to go ahead and just here open up a new item. So you can see on our General tab, we have here serial and batch numbers managed by. So in SAP Business One, we can set some items to be managed that way and other items not. So we can have some serial items, some batch, and we can have some that are none. By default, we have none here. You can see here I can choose either serial or batch. An item can't be both. So if I say serial numbers, okay, we have the method, the management method. You have on every transaction or release only. What that means is on every transaction, the serial number is going to be tracked the entire way. So when it comes in, it's going to be tracked on the way in with a goods receipt, purchase order, and when it goes out, either a delivery or an AR invoice, it's going to go out. So if you do on every transaction, you can do that. Issue primary by, okay, if you're using the bin location option, which is something new in SAP 9.0, you can issue by serial number batches or by bin. So again, it was just a way of, if you're using bins in your warehouse, just a way of organizing an orderly fashion of your information. If you say release only here, you have this other automatic serial number creation upon receipt. Some people like to do this. Again, if I leave it on release only and do not check this, what it's going to do is that if I don't have a serial number, when I go to release it, I'm going to have to actually create the serial number at the same time. What this does, it automatically creates a serial number. So you can just set up a type of number. This is if the products you're selling don't have serials on them already. Typically, if the product has, again, if it's electronics and it has a serial number on it, you can just scan on the way out and release only and record that serial number. But if you're dealing with products or batches that don't have the information, you can set it by clicking here to automatically create the serial number and or the batch when you're actually receiving it. That way you just have a reference in the system. And if you see here, if we go batches, we have the same information. Again, if it's batches, you want to do on every transaction or release only. And again, if you choose on every transaction, you have that option with the bin location as well. If you do on release only, again, it's not going to ask you to automatically create it, but it'll do it this way. So we'll look at these and see what we got. So let's just go here. I'm going to go into my find mode. And we're going to see here, let's find something that has batches. See if we have anything. I don't think we do. Let's find something that has serials. Okay, so we do have serials. We'll just have to create a batch, and we'll do one here. So you can see these all have serial numbers on it. Again, they work the same principle. I'll focus more on the serial number, but then we'll actually do one with a batch. So these all have serials. And again, you have it here. You can see we have it. Here's our inventory data, so you can see that we have right now in stock for this general warehouse. You can see we have in stock and what we have. Again, our bin location here. So once I have that, I can actually right-click anywhere on this item master. So if I right-click, I can look at my serial numbers transaction report. This is also available in the reporting side of it, so we can look at this. So what this is telling me, for example, this first one here, this serial number, you can see this serial number, okay, the date, and so on. If you look at the detail, you can see how it came in. Again, it came in on this receipt. That's data's archive. Let's get something a little more recent here. Okay, here's one that came in and out. So again, the same thing you can see here. This is a serial number 1504. Again, you can see it here. If we look at it, we can open up the document and we can see again where it came in. So this is a goods receipt issue. Here's the server point. We had a quantity of 5. Again, we can right-click on this document, and here we'll see the 5 numbers that came in. So we had 1500, 1501, 1502, 1503, 1504. These all came in on that one right there. That makes up the 5. Again, you see that it's unique because it's a serial number. So what we do is for every item, since we have 5 items, we have to have 5 serial numbers. We have to have that one-to-one match. If we look at the out, again, you can see this went out on a delivery. You can see one of them went out on the delivery. And again, if we right-click, okay, so there's that 1504 that went out. Okay, so let's kind of go through a simple one. And we'll show you how it works. So we're going to go here, purchasing. We're going to do a goods receipt, a direct goods receipt PO. Let's grab that server point. And let's do 3 of them. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add these 3. And again, you see I'm using bin location for this example, so I have it set to automatically allocate the bins into a receiving bin. So now what it's going to do, it's going to go ahead and bring everything in. You can see that the goods receipt came in. If we look at that, and again, we look at our item, you can see this was on release only, so it did not create those bins. If I set it to automatically create, let's turn this on. Okay, let's do another one. And let's do 3 again. And we're going to go ahead and add it. Okay, so now let's go back. Let's first look at this one we did. Let's look at 368. and you can see that there's no serial numbers found. That's because I had that switch turned off, so I didn't create automatically. If I look at the one here, 369, you can see here that it created the numbers right here. Okay, now this information is blank because I didn't specify any way of actually creating it, but I did create the serial numbers here, so I can come later into these information, and I can, with my serial management, I can actually add these numbers. So I can do it this way. This is not the best way of doing it, but this is the quickest way of doing it because it kind of just gets the information in. And then what you can do is usually on the way out, if you choose one of these, you can either enter the numbers automatically. That's why it's recommended when you do it on both, because when you do it on both, it's going to actually create the serial number. But this is, again, a way of getting it in. So what we can do is we can actually go into our management, and we can take care of this. So let's go here into inventory, item management, and serials, serial number management. Again, we're going to look at this item. Let's go here. We're just going to grab that one. And you can see here, if we scroll down, we can see the information is here. So what we can do is we can actually go in here, grab this information, and then go ahead, we can make any changes to it here. Just turn everything on again here. So we can go here, and again, we can work with all this information here. Again, we can put information on the actual we can go here and do whatever we need to do on this goods receipt PO. We can make any changes to it. And again, we have all the information here. Let's just find our the one we just did here. So again, you can see this one here that we received, and again here, again, we can go ahead and put our information in. So if we want, we can pick a manufacturer's serial number, our particular serial number. So let's say we say 1510, 1511, 1512. And again, you can do all this information. So again, this is one of the ways of doing it. I can update, and I can use this actually update to update existing serial numbers in here. Again, this one here that came in, you can see if I need to change or modify the serial numbers, as long as I have authorization, I can do that. But again, this is one way of doing it. So this is one of the ways of doing it, so I don't have to key them in. What I'm doing is I'm telling it to automatically create the serial numbers, even though I'm only issuing the actual serial numbers on the way out on release. Again, if we go here to this item, you can see what we did. So we said on release only, but we automatically created the creation of the serial number receipt. Again, because I created it, it just created the reference or the transaction, but it didn't actually put the serial number, so I can key them in later. I'm going to switch this now on every transaction, and you'll see the difference, because now it's going to actually make me create it when I come in. So if we go back, now let's do a goods receipt PO. Do two of them. So now when I go to add, it's going to pop this open here, because now it wants me to put the serial numbers in. So I got to create two serial numbers. So again, I can put the manufacturer numbers here. Say I'm going to put 1515, and again, you'll see total needed 2. I created 1. Let's put 1516. Click Update, click OK. Now when I can go ahead and add it. Again, there's my bin. Okay, so now when I added that, again, you can see what I created. So that's the difference on how you want to do it. If you set it for release only, you need to actually just create the sales serial number at the very end on a release only. All right. If you do every transaction, you must identify the serial number on the way in and on the way out. All right. If you want to kind of do half of that, you can do release only, and you can select this. So what this is going to do is on the way in, on the receipt, it's just going to create the records for those serial numbers. So in the case you showed me, I did 3. It creates those 3 records. Then I can come in to manage those numbers and add the numbers afterwards. If I turn this off, it doesn't create them at all. So I'm going to have to go in, you know, and at time of selling it, I'm going to have to put the serial numbers on. So you can kind of work with either way on seal. And everything I'm doing here works the same as batch. We'll do a batch one, but I'm not going to go into the detail of the batch because everything you see here works the same way for batch. And again, that is in our inventory, our item management, and here are items. And again, serial number detail, you can also do the same. Again, you can add more information here. Again, this is important when you're dealing, again, especially in the pharmaceutical industry or the food industry. You need to have expiration dates. If you're dealing, the parts are covered under warranty and the warranty is good for so long, you can do that and enter all this information and additional stuff. So again, you can do the serial number detail. So if you don't enter these when they come in, you can then go in here and work and enter when they come out. Most of that information is also available in here as well. You can see here. You can also do it here if you want. So that's also available. Okay, so let's just create an item real quick for batches. See if we can. Okay, this one doesn't have anything. Let's just use this one. So we're just going to grab that item. Again, same here. I'm going to just do on every transaction so we can follow through. Yeah, it's letting me do that because there's no, the reason why it's letting me do that because there's no transactions. Nothing's ever been created for this one. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. So now we're going to go into purchasing an AP and do a goods receipt. Okay, so here we're going to put 50. That's the unit price of 10. And let's go ahead and add this. Okay, so notice here, it works the same, but it's a little bit different, okay? Because now we're going to create only one batch number for this 50. We can't actually create 2 because this could have come in on 2 batches, but we're just going to go here and say batch 1. And again, we're going to put all 50 here, but we could separate because you could have this coming in on 2 batches. But you'll see the difference is it's not a one-to-one situation. All right, so it's going to go here. I'm just going to, again, since we're using our bins, we're just going to assign a bin. We're going to add it. Again, if we call it back up, you have now the batch transaction report. Again, similar to the serial number. So there it is, and there's what came in, and there's all the information. So when we sell this, now we can do the same thing. So we're going to go to, let's do a delivery. Let's let's pick that's a Euro customer. Let's not deal with exchange rates today. Actually, we do have a detailed webinar on the exchange rates on our website, so you can do that, but I'm not going to get into those now. So again, now we're going to do 5 of these. So when we add, again here, now it's looking, so you see here the batch. So we can select this, and how many do we need? We need 5, so we're going to select 5. I'm going to move that over. So you can see here, we're done. We click Update. We're going to click OK. We're going to add this. So again, if we go back and look at that, you can see that 5 came out, and you can see the quantity here is 45. That's what's left of the 50. And we have all the information there. If, again, we look at the item, and we right-click on the item, and again, we can see the direction of where C50 came in and 5 went out. Again, same principle that you saw with the serial numbers. You can do the same type of information. You can actually go in, create everything through here. And again, under your inventory, serial number management, serial number details, same principle. Batch management. Again, if you want to click on that, take a little while for it to run. And again, you're looking at everything here. So again, if you want to manage this, again, you can put attributes on the batch. You can put, again, your expiration dates, your manufacturing dates, so on and so on. You can do everything in here. And the same thing with the batch details. You don't want it to come up. But the same principle. On your batch details, you can see here, again, you can add attributes. Again, manufacturing dates, expiration dates, details, so on and so on. You can do everything in here. Okay, so let's recap what we learned today. We're talking about serial and batches in SAP Business One. Again, the difference is that the serial number is unique. So you have one serial number for every item. So in the case when we sold 5, we have to have 5 unique serial numbers. Batches are groups. We batch certain things. Batches are used in the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry, so on and so on. If I manufacture ground beef and I manufacture 50,000 pounds, they have a batch, so I can track it. If I manufacture 50,000 bottles of aspirins, they all have a batch. Again, so I can track it. So if there's a problem with one of those bottles, I know where all the other bottles came from. You can do it that way. It's controlled at the item mastered level. So at the item level, you determine what you want. And again, you can go here and you can do serial numbers. Here, let me just, go in add mode. So you can do serial numbers and then your method. You have 2 methods. On every transaction, that means you must create the serial number on the way in and a serial number on the way out. So when you do a goods receipt, you must define the serial numbers at that point, and then when you sell with a delivery, you need to put a serial number on. If you do that, again, you have, again, how do you want to issue the numbers? Again, you can do the serial number batches, or again, when you're dealing with bins, you can work with allocation through bins. Notice when I have on every transaction, I don't have that automatic creation here. If I change this to on release only, I have this additional option. Because release only is saying I only have to do it on the way out. But if I don't do it on the way in, that means on the way out I have to define the serial or batch, as opposed to defining it on the way in. I can kind of do a half step by turning this on, automatic serial number creation on receipt. What that's going to do is when I receive, so in the example, if I receive 5, it's going to create 5 blank records on that receiving, so they're there. And then later on, I can actually go update those. Again, some people do this because just, time-wise, they don't have time to key everything in. Maybe they want to do a receive all 5, and then when they open up the boxes, do the inspection, then they key in all the serial numbers or scan in all the serial numbers, the next day or before they sell. You can create that option. So on release only, you can do that. It'll actually create the records, and then you have to go in and manage and change the records afterwards. Batch works the same way. Again, if I do batches, you have that 2 options on every transaction on release only. So every transaction, that means on the way in, way out, on release only. It doesn't give you that information because since batches are not a one-to-one relationship, you don't have to automatically create them. If you're receiving 100 items, you want to automatically create those 100 records and go back and enter the serial numbers later. But if you're creating you're receiving 100 on one batch, you can just go create the batch. So that information is not there. So you have that. You can see if the item is turned on for that. So for example, the server point here, because the item has the information, you can right-click, and this becomes available, the serial number transaction report. Again, we saw that, all the ins and outs of all your different serial numbers here. If you have an item that's defined as batch, so this one we defined as a batch, you can see we have the batch number transaction report. And again, gives you the history of everything. You can also, in the inventory item management, you can manage the serial numbers. This allows you to change serial numbers, update information on the serial numbers, and the batches work the same way. So if you go here, again, it just shows you everything. You can add expiration dates, manufacturers. You can actually edit the serial numbers here themselves. And again, or in the case when they were blank, you can use this to key, scan everything in. And the batches work the same way. Okay, so that concludes our webinar. This webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on our website, so you can visit us at www.michellgroup.com to view this as well as the others in our training series. And we thank you for your time.